Life is kind of hard these days, but the thing that most of us can't do is properly focus while we're studying. See, knowing how to maintain concentration for long hours is a skill, and whether you're an A-star student or someone who just gets by, all of our brains get hit by distraction the exact same way. But the difference is that the people with high levels of discipline have trained and conditioned themselves to focus intensely when they study. It isn't actually hard to follow the evidence-based practices that I'm going to go through today, but that's the point. Out of all the ones that I've discovered, these are the ones that have genuinely helped me improve my focus while I'm working the most. Only work on one single task at a time. Multitasking is a myth, and when we think, oh, I'm multitasking, what's actually happening is that our brain is switching back and forth between tasks that we're doing. And the thing is, we like it. We can't focus on one thing because we like constantly switching between things. We start by making notes for our lecture. It feels a bit boring. We jump to our Instagram stories then we jump to our math homework, and so on. We keep on jumping between things, and we do it because A, we're intolerant to being bored, and B, we also have this underlying anxiety of not being 100% productive the entire time we're studying. And the reality is that task switching and multitasking like this has a huge cost to it. By self-interrupting and jumping onto something else while you're studying, your brain loses its ability to process information. True learning comes from making associations, and if your brain is too busy backtracking to where you left off, you're not giving it any time to make these connections. You're not letting any actual learning happen if you don't focus on that one task. So before you start that study session, earnestly decide on one thing that you're going to focus on. It's going to create a limitation for you, which is very helpful in itself, and if you do this every day, just imagine how much your focus will strengthen and narrow over time. There was this scientist called Pavlov who had a dog, and every time he fed the dog, he rang this bell. And eventually, whenever the dog heard that bell, he would start salivating, even if there wasn't any food. This is called classical conditioning. And it's a very smart tactic to use if you want to be able to focus as soon as you sit down to study. Because once you condition yourself to focus, even to a small degree, overcoming it isn't easy. It can't just be overcome with your temptations. Things like not having motivation just aren't as big of a deal anymore because you've conditioned your brain to focus. So by making some sort of ritual or routine before you want to get into that focused study session, you're training your subconscious mind to get into work mode. It doesn't have to be this whole thing of candles and the perfect desk setup, and you don't have to romanticize studying. You just have to have a specific routine, a simple one. So for me, when I know I want to get work done, what I do is I go to a certain library, I sit in the quiet section, I grab a cheap coffee on the way, I put my playlist on, and boom, I'm ready. I'm ready to work with full concentration now. And it's simply because I do this exact same thing multiple times a week, and over time I've just conditioned myself to get into my focused study mode whenever I do these things. Again, you have to do this over and over to properly condition yourself, but it's something that just works for the majority of the disciplined people that I know. It's no secret that if someone is interested in a subject, they're much more likely to maintain focus while studying it. And to make a subject interesting, what I was originally going to tell you guys was to just gamify it. Track your progress, treat the learning like a game. I've said it before, it makes you enjoy it more and you're much more likely to maintain focus then. And all of that is true, gamifying it does help. But what I realized was that gamifying my learning wasn't really the reason I started to enjoy this subject and start to get invested in things like biology or computer science or economics. Yes, gamification of the subjects is an excellent way to motivate you when you first start, but it isn't enough to keep you going in the long run. Like, think about it yourself. Tracking your results over time and seeing them improve, it does help motivate you, but it's not something that'll interest you enough to help you maintain focus for long periods of time. In my case, I was very invested in gamifying the things I was doing. I created this point system for the maths past papers I was doing, and still to this day, I color code my recall questions red, orange, green, depending on how I understand it. But changing the question or the topic that I've learned from red to green when I've understood something isn't really the thing that engages me and makes me enjoy the process of studying the subject. The thing that makes it fun, the thing that makes me enjoy it, is actually building a genuine interest in what I'm learning. And the way that this interest naturally came through for me was, one, relating whatever it is I'm learning to real life applications and to things that I actually care about. And two, always trying to use very engaging sources when I'm trying to learn this topic. Help your brain associate the things that you're learning with the things that actually interest you. I remember I had to do this project in physics about the flow rate and how that works in a pipe. It was a boring topic, but I related it to hospital blood transfusion and how blood flows through when you're doing these transfusions. Even thinking about flow rate in physics in the context of blood flowing through our arteries, how that works and how that happens, made it a lot more interesting than it originally was. It's just an example, but I really do find that whenever you link whatever you're learning to something that you care about, you just are able to be invested in it and you are able to maintain focus on whatever it is that you're learning for a longer period of time. And as for the second point, it goes without saying, but you need to find the most engaging ways to consume the content. If you don't like the teacher, you won't enjoy the subject. If you don't enjoy it, you won't maintain focus. So switch to YouTube, find a nicer book, because I can guarantee that there is someone in the world that has taught the topic in a way that will interest you. Humans are wired to be easily distractible, and our attention isn't constant. It's like a spotlight that dims out and then turns back on again. Even while it seems like you're focusing on this video, what's actually happening is that you're zooming in and out multiple times a second, again and again. The reason our brain does this is because we're constantly scanning the environment to look for things that are outside our main focus of attention. We've been conditioned to look for these threats since the caveman days, and it's the reason that all of us get hit by distraction almost the exact same way. There are fMRI studies that look at our brain under specific distractions, and the main conclusion was all of us almost respond in the exact same way. But the difference between a lot of the people that have high levels of discipline versus the people that aren't as focused most of the time is that these people are extremely diligent with scheduling time for focused work, for deep work. They get distracted and focus out as much as all of us, but instead of giving into their distractions, they're much faster at bringing themselves back to their work. So remember, the problem isn't ever going to be getting distracted, because that's natural. The problem's going to come when you can't bring your focus back as soon as possible. For God's sakes though, chuck your phone on the other side of the room. It's not worth it. Just get rid of it. Don't make it that easy to get distracted. Not all distractions are bad though. Good distractions like your friends walking in when you're studying, or you getting sidetracked by an idea for a healthy meal or something. Those are distractions that should be embraced. You're never gonna remember the extra hour you worked or the extra 0.5% that you got in the exam. So the point is, as long as you're getting the minimum amount of work done that you set out for yourself in the day, getting distracted in these good ways shouldn't be something that you're anal about. Limit everything that you have to do, all the tasks and topics you have to study, to the highly important things, the vital few. In high school, I was a proper bookworm, and so I'd let my entire day get filled up with work and not do much else. Which, by the way, meant that it was tons of unfocused work with a lot of distractions, because it's impossible to focus for that long, for that many hours, without having the healthy balance of other things that you're doing. It really sucked, and no one wants this. So when I got to medical school, I completely changed my mindset. I now only do the bare minimum amount of studying in a smart way, in an efficient way, every single day. I still do just as well in my exams. I run this YouTube thing on the side, and I have a pretty good social life as well. So limit your to-do list to the handful of important things and be consistent with them. I guarantee that if you do this, you will improve your focus over time, because at the end of the day, we don't have unlimited capacity to process information and maintain ultra focus. We only have a few hours of deep work in the day, so use them on the things that matter. If you give yourself less time to work and more time to enjoy life in general, your work will just tend to fill in the time that you give it, and you will want to concentrate on that more and get it done faster so you can do all the things that you want to do in the day. Improving your focus is very important, but if you're behind and want to know how to catch up on all of your work in a clever way, then watch this right here. In this video, I go through my exact strategy to catch up efficiently before your exams, and I actually show you how I did it for my exams back in med school. I go through it in real time, so make sure to check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped. I'll see you in the next one.